Last night it went down to 36 degrees. When I woke up it said it felt like 34. I actually forgot to close my hoop house, so now I'm on my way over there to check on things inside of the hoop house. After tonight, or after last night, so even tonight, the low aren't going anywhere into the 30s. It's not even dipping anywhere below the everything looks pretty good in here, with the exception of some of these peppers don't look so hot. They were sitting at the top of the door. Oh no. And some of my cucumbers in here, they're looking, they have fell over. Even some of these nasturtiums. These are just wilted. These are not sunflowers, sweet potatoes, and they just look wilted from, they drank all the water. So I'm gonna send Nael, can you go refill this with water, please? Looking, even the cucumbers over here, they look kind of sad. That's a little disappointing. I didn't remember that I didn't close my hoop house until, oh no, some of the peppers here, I didn't remember I didn't close my hoop house until it was 1 a.m. and so yeah, all of the tomatoes look fine. It's mostly a few of the peppers and the cucumbers and some nasturtiums, and I'm gonna say it's from the cold because there's water in those trays and they're still really sad, which is interesting because some of the cucumbers like this one, they're fine, and then that one's very sad. And then some of these peppers are fine, and then some are sad. So that is a little disappointing, just because I didn't remember, like I said, till 1 a.m. and I wasn't gonna come out here and at 1 a.m. and get dressed and close the hoop house, especially because it was only gonna get down to, it said 36, but it did say it felt like 34. So that's interesting to know that all of the peppers, if I would have remembered that my peppers was at the front of the hoop house, I probably would have gotten up to come in here. But it's even the peppers that were at the back of the hoop house as well. Some of them look affected. But the good thing about this is that I only needed about, I think, 80 peppers, and I had over 100 and something. I had over 100 and something up potted. So definitely didn't get, I definitely still have enough to plant inside my garden, but I was planning on giving some away and selling stuff, and that's not gonna happen. And so that's a little disappointing. But going forward, our last frost date, I'm in South Carolina, Zone 8B, coastal South Carolina. Thank you. Thank you. I'm in coastal South Carolina, Zone 8B, and after tonight, our last scheduled frost date, according to the Farmer's Almanac, is supposed to be March 27th. Our calendar goes all the way up until April 2nd, which last year our last frost date was exactly April 2nd, and usually it is always scheduled for April 2nd, but since they moved up the date for the Farmer's Almanac this year, our last frost date is estimated as March 27th. And like I said, our calendar goes all the way up until April 2nd. And all the way up until April 2nd, there's no frost. There's not even any degrees into the 30s. All of the degrees are in the mid to upper 40s as the lows, and in the highs, it's in the 70s and 80s. So I think we're past our danger of frost. The only thing is, 2 years ago, we did have a freak frost in mid-April. But we shall definitely see. I came out here because I'm going to be, oh, before I get started, Greenstalk is having a sale on these basket weaved planters, and if you use my discount code family10 you can get $10 off of your any Greenstalk products. It's amazing how I planted some tomatoes in here, and they were very, very tiny. They were not that big, but I planted them into the soil, and it's amazing what planting them into soil will do for them, because they've grown so much already compared to the ones that are still planted in pots. Even though they weren't like growing out of the bottom of the pots, they still had lots of room when I planted them out of here. In fact, the soil, like the roots haven't even wrapped all the way around the soil yet when I planted them out here. And now I'm looking at them and they've like doubled the size of the ones that are at the top of this shelf, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so I'm glad that I came out here. I have to do stuff. I have a few things I need to do. I do need to finish potting some tomatoes. I have some tomatoes here like this is that are here. I have some tomatoes, oh, back there that are really, really big. These, all of these need to be potted, so I think I'm gonna start with that. But then I also want to get, I'm looking for my tripod to sit you guys on. But then I also have my I bought out seeds because I wanted to get stuff planted into the garden like seeds, my zinnia seeds. But we shall see what we get started. So we had already filled out this tray a couple days ago when I didn't get to finish separating these seedlings. And now that I have, I'm gonna finish potting. Oh wow, look, I just pulled this out and there's a caterpillar right there. So for the most part, I've potted most of my tomatoes, but there were some like the dwarf tomatoes that I planted a month ago, so 4 weeks ago, where the rest of my tomatoes I had planted way in advance, probably 10, 8, and 6 weeks ago. And with the dwarf tomatoes I was just waiting. And now that we are less than 2 weeks away from my last frost date, I'm still having to pot tomatoes, and not just the dwarf tomatoes because they're still fairly small, like they just started getting their true leaves, but I'm also potting these tomatoes that I just ran out of time potting. Like I have that, what is it called, black brandywine, and like this, what is this, this golden nugget, like that's huge. That should have been, that's like the size of plant that I planted out into these beds. This is like bigger than some of the tomatoes that I have potted already. I just like ran out of time, and then I've been avoiding it, and then I struggle with attention issues, so I didn't really want to do it. And then now I'm here and I'm like, okay, I have to separate, even though I don't want to. When I rather go outside and plant my zinnia seeds, because I still have not, although I've replanted my zinnia seeds and I did get some more to germinate, it's still not a lot, and so I just want to go outside and lay down my landscape fabric and plant my zinnia seeds out into the beds so that I can get them growing already. But this is actually more important because these are varieties that, these aren't like extra plants, these are varieties that I don't have. If I don't pot these, I will not have this variety. So sometimes when the soil's too high. I have to, like, with that root is too big, I have to take a lot of soil out in order to make it fit, and then I'll just backfill if I need to. But I definitely need, or want, I don't need, because obviously I have more than enough tomato plants to go into the garden, but these are varieties like this blue cream berries. That's a cherry tomato, and I definitely want that. So I need to get these up potted. But since I've done so many already, I think I've done 4, 6, I think this will be my 7th or 8th tray of tomato that I've potted. I feel pretty done. And it's funny that, so I'm up potting this one and I just look back in that tray, there is a tomato sprouted that I already took the tag out, already transplanted all of them, and then look, a tomato, and I don't even know what that is. I'm not gonna worry about it because obviously I have more than enough tomatoes of its kind, of every kind of tomato really. I tell you, these are one of the things that I wish I could pass along to my daughters to do for me, but then again, I don't think they're at the gardening level to gently not kill my tomato plants, even though tomato plants are like pretty hard to kill when you're separating them. I don't know. Do you guys let your kids help you transplant and separate seedlings? Okay, I finished getting this one tray separated. So there's 32 tomatoes in here. The rest of the tomatoes I'm not going to separate right now because they're fairly tiny. Not all of them are dwarf like I thought. Like, some of them are beefsteaks. Like this one's an Arkansas Traveler. I don't know why they're this tiny, and they're not super green, and so I should probably separate them, but their other stuff is calling my name. I don't know. But I am done with this one tray. Like this one right here, this Brandywine Black. Like look, that's like a whole legit plant that could be ready to go outside. So these definitely needed it. I'm gonna put them on the back shelf back there. I just noticed that now that the sun has started to come out a little more, the peppers that were at the front that looked a little wilty have started to come back to life. So I don't know if it was just sad for a moment because it was kind of cool and that shocked them, but they have perked back up. They're not, like, they're definitely not sad anymore, so that's a good sign. My cucumbers, let's see, the cucumbers, some, like, I guess just this one really. So that's interesting. We shall see what happens with those, because I'm not replanting them right now anyway. So I went ahead and separated all of the tomatoes, even though they were super tiny. You can see I did not have to separate these at all. Some of them don't even have like their true leaves, but I did it. I separated this one and that one, and I had a few straggler tomatoes, so I just left them inside this container. This is like Paul Robeson, Moneymaker, Mariglobe, and a Porter. And then this one didn't even grow anything. And I had some other ones too that didn't germinate, and I'm gonna leave their tags there. The soil is still pretty damp, but I'm gonna move it from this section and put it back here somewhere. And now officially, oh my goodness, did I just say that? I was about to say officially all of the tomatoes, all of the big tomatoes. Oh yeah, that is. So yes, I can say that. Officially, all of my big slicers, beefsteak, cherry tomatoes, paste tomatoes are all separated. The only tomatoes that I have left to separate now are my dwarf tomatoes. But you can see how tiny they are. I planted these a month ago, and a lot of them, actually this whole tray right here, none of them have their first true leaves. And so they're fine to stay in here. But I'm happy to report that all of the basils that we replanted, because they didn't sprout, have sprouted, and all of this yellow giant marigold, that all resprouted. So I'm really happy about that. These are just the tomatoes we uppotted first. But everything else is looking great. So I just got 4 trays of tomatoes uppotted, and now it is lunchtime. So I'm going to go in, take a pause on this, go eat some lunch, and then we'll have to be back out here probably later to hopefully plant some seeds. So we'll see you guys next time.